What is the true cost of your gold ornaments? That is the question I hope to leave you with at the end of today's show. Welcome to Digging Deep, a very special edition of the 77%, where we go deeper into the issues affecting Africa's youth. Today, I explore Africa's gold boom and the price it exacts on people and the environment. I'm your host, Mike Loti. Did you know that your ring or favorite gold piece could be illegal? Hear me out. That the gold was mined illegally. Globally, around 20% of minerals extracted come from illegal and small-scale mines. Illegal mining is prevalent across the African continent, but this industry has very little safeguards for the workers, leading often to injury and sometimes even death. But why is this the case? I'll let my colleague George Okachi explain.
Illegal mining is basically the illicit extraction and trade of precious metals such as gold, diamond, cobalt without proper licensing or adherence to regulations. It is a complex issue that intersects with organized crime, environmental degradation, and human exploitation. The scale of the problem is staggering. In Central African Republic CAR, for example, it is estimated that 97.5% of gold production is not officially registered and is smuggled out of the country. According to the mining group Gamefields, 20% of the world's gold production comes from artisanal mining, much of it illegal. So who are the players in illegal mining? An Interpol report says that the miners themselves are at the bottom of the chain. They are often vulnerable individuals who trade their safety for the slim chance of a golden ticket out of poverty. Women make up half of Africa's artisanal miners and children another 10%. Mine managers, financiers, and then illegal buyers are also involved. At the very top are some big dealers, organized crime groups, otherwise known as OCGs, high-ranking political and economic actors, as well as non-state armed groups in conflict zones like in the Democratic Republic of Congo. But why can't governments stop them? The answer, according to most analysts, lies in corruption and lack of political will. Additionally, illegal mining provides a living, albeit dangerous and illegal, to millions of impoverished citizens, making some governments hesitant to crack down, some reports suggest. Some countries like South Africa are even mulling plans to formalize artisanal mining in a bid to mitigate the scourge. In Ghana, tech-based solutions like using artificial intelligence, remote sensing, and satellite data are being explored to mitigate the effects of illegal mining.
Illegal gold mining is a paradox. On the one hand, this industry provides employment for the youth. But on the other hand, that employment could often be fatal. Last year, around 4,000 illegal miners were trapped in an abandoned mine in South Africa. They were there for months, and by the time they were rescued, several of them had died. Sadly, death in the illegal mining industry is very common, and it's expected to get worse. Gold price on the international market is going up, and this is creating a demand for the precious metal. In countries like Guinea, in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in South Africa, illegal mining is on the rise. But nowhere is this industry booming like in Ghana. The West African country is the biggest producer of gold on the African continent, and it's also the 6th largest globally. Now, all of this gold comes at a very, very steep cost. And to unravel the story, I traveled to Ghana to meet the young people who are mining in the depths of the country's forest. The 77% team has been working on this, and let's enjoy. This small piece of gold is causing a major health and environmental calamity.
What is going on is wickedness, it's environmental terrorism, and can be stopped yesterday if the political will is there.
But are the miners willing to stop? I traveled to Ghana's illegal mining sites, and they tell me,
when it comes to environmental degradation, all human activity degrades the environment one way or the other. That's something that must be understood.
With cocoa production declining and health risks rising, can Ghana save its agriculture and people before it is too late? To understand the driving force behind illegal mining, I traveled to Wase Kropong in Ghana's western region. This area is part of the country's gold belt. For me, this story is personal. I am Ghanaian and cocoa farming is part of my family's history. But to be clear, gold mining has existed alongside farming and other forms of economic activity in this country. The major difference now is this: the scale of mechanization involved and the land area being destroyed. First, the excavator removes the topsoil. Then young people, mostly men, dig up the soil. It is hard, back-breaking work. They are unsure what exactly they are going to find, but they are hopeful. Once the topsoil is loosened, the miners use water hoses to create a sludge. This sludge is run over a carpet in the hopes that the fine gold particles will be caught. Later, the carpet is washed and mercury, a dangerous chemical, is added to the mixture. Mercury is the killer. It can affect babies in the womb. For adults, death comes slowly. It can stay in the soil for decades, poisoning fish and finding its way into crops. It is Ghana's biggest threat right now, but these miners use it every single day. We'll talk more about mercury soon. For this story, I meet up with an illegal miner. Let's call him Kojo.
I was into banking for about 9 years, and then I left. Initially, I started investing in this business. I realized I couldn't do it part-time. I had to come in full-time, lest I lose all my money.
There are a lot of people that I've spoken to who came into illegal mining because they didn't have a job. But you clearly had one, and even by Ghanaian standards, a prestigious one at that. Why did you decide to leave your banking job to do illegal mining?
And the dream I have is quite big. I want to go into processing ultimately, cocoa processing.
Is it then not ironic that we are sitting in the middle of a cocoa farm and you are destroying this cocoa farm?
At some point, we will stop. And one of the things which would cause or which will attract people to stop selling their cocoa farms is when they're able to get higher prices for their cocoa beans.
Galamsey attracts teachers, dressmakers, and even former journalists. In this job, they are able to earn more than their original profession. But it gets worse. Below this vast expanse is a web of tunnels burrowed deep into the ground. One of the miners shows me what they call underground mining.
We call this kind of work ghetto mining. We go underground to mine gold rocks. We bring these rocks up and crush them to find gold.
These tunnels periodically cave in, killing miners. Aside from that, the open pits pose a danger to the rest of the community. In sub-Saharan African countries, around 10 to 12 million young people enter the labor market competing for only 3 million new jobs in the formal sector every single year. This creates a mismatch between demand and supply for employment.
I completed senior high school in 2017 and was unemployed for 4 years. Galamsey was my only option. This job has helped me pay my child's school fees.
I graduated from vocational school, but I couldn't find work. I learned dressmaking 6 years ago. I tried starting a business, but that didn't work. So I came here to do Galamsey.
Even though this industry is illegal, estimates say that these miners contribute nearly 20% to global gold mineral production. Illegal mining is not only a problem in Ghana. It is happening in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso, and many other African countries. With gold prices soaring, the galamsey operators are willing to pull all-night shifts. This is what it's all about. It might not look like much, but this is 1.2 grams of gold worth 1,400 cedis or $90. With the government's daily minimum wage at $2, today's find is worth more than 17 times what an average worker in Ghana would earn. The next day, Kojo takes the week's find to be purified and weighed.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are our big days. On these days, we purify gold several times, sometimes up to 50 pounds, that is 23 kgs. On days when business is slow, we sometimes process around 40 to 30 pounds.
For the gold miners, business is great. But for everyone else, this is a nightmare. Forests are being destroyed. Cocoa farms are getting cut down. The mercury and other chemicals used in the processing either seep into the ground or end up in rivers. The destruction of galamsey touches every single part of this country. The NGO Water Aid calls what's happening in Ghana an ecocide or an ecological suicide. I asked Kojo what he makes of the environmental destruction.
Government needs to heavily regulate this industry. There's a lot of indiscipline on the part of miners. Honestly, I'm a miner myself. I try as much as possible to do certain things right, but there are so many people who do not do it that way. In the end, it comes down to the fact that all of us are pulled into the same group.
So far, regulation has failed. The need to find gold trumps all other social needs, not even the health or safety of the country's future generation. This is one of the many basic schools in Wase Kropon, and as you can see, right behind the school are excavators and miners searching for gold. This is illegal. School authorities tell me they are helpless against the influence of the miners. The use of heavy-duty machinery creates plumes of dust. The water is unsafe, and the mounds of sand could easily collapse on the school. Sadly, the school has had to relocate once because mining was getting too close to their buildings, but that is happening all over again. The lure of gold is so strong that farmers are willingly selling their farmlands to prospectors, and those who are unwilling to sell, the costs can be high.
If you look at the edge of my cocoa farm, the miners have dug a huge pit. Water that should nourish my crop ends up in that pit. That is why you see these trees dying.
This is happening everywhere. Farmers are either being forced to sell or threatened. Because of the quick returns of illegal mining, many young farmers are also leaving agriculture. The price of Ghana's gold rush is very, very steep. I have personally seen babies with birth defects that have been preserved across Ghana's hospitals. The footage of these babies is very, very horrible, so we cannot show it to you. However, regulation needs to be toughened because even the profits from Ghana's gold does not all come to the state because of smuggling. Fortunately, there appears to be some development on the horizon. Ghana recently launched the Gold Board. It is a program where anybody who wants to sell or buy gold must do this through the Gold Board. In theory, it's a very good idea, something that several African countries with similar problems can duplicate. But as the experts that I spoke to have hinted, it's a very, very long way off before the Gold Board works effectively. And the very first step is education. Back in Accra, I meet with Lydia Osei, who has been researching artisanal and small-scale mining for years. She says finding a proper balance between saving the environment and exploiting mineral resources is a difficult task for Ghana.
We have been mining for over 1,000 years. And the deposits are still, even though these are exhaustible deposits, yes, but we haven't gotten to that stage where things have gotten bad, isn't it? So people will continue to mine, and again, the government is dependent on gold. So whatever revenue we are getting from gold, it should be used, some aspect of that should also be used in taking care of the environment.
Dr. Osei admits that part of the problem is that many miners do not understand the full implication of their actions.
The government doesn't do any form of training. If the miners are fortunate enough, they can have maybe an NGO come there to sensitize them about the effects or the health hazards associated with their work. Besides that, government leaves them and they do their own thing.
The lack of education in an industry that has no regulation has led to this. In Ghana today, scenes such as this are very common. Recent estimates say about 4,726 hectares of land, more than the size of European cities like Athens and Brussels, have been destroyed in 7 of the country's 16 regions. The government's land reclamation project is struggling to keep pace with the destruction. That is what inspired Aaron Ejapong, this young environmentalist.
There are different types of reclamation. So there is a reclamation where you cover the land and then you plant trees, just as you are seeing. There is also reclamation where you add, you use certain methods, soil remediation methods, like biochar, activated charcoal, to reclaim the land. That is when you are trying to get the poisonous contaminants out of the land.
This section of forest was planted only 3 years ago, and already it has become the home of some animals that were forced to leave due to mining. Save Our Lands projects hopes to reverse the devastating impact of illegal mining and degraded lands. So far, this organization has restored about 300 acres of land, but unless thoroughly tested, the land can still be toxic.
During the Galamsey activities, they use certain chemicals. Mercury is the most dominant, and this mercury goes into the land. If you plant something right now, it comes fine, and then you eat it, you are consuming that mercury. And right now, the quantity or the mercury substance in the land is way too much in terms of healthy consumption. If you keep consuming food from such land, 5, 10, 15 years, you are going to give birth, the child comes with one hand or maybe no ear.
These trees represent how Ghana's illegal mining sites could look like, because reforestation has been proven to help nature heal itself. But the challenges are enormous. On the boundaries of restored land, illegal miners constantly are threatening to go back in.
When we come to reclaim a degraded land, we sit down, we have a conversation, and then we go into an agreement. Once we reclaim the land, it cannot be used for Galamsey activities for the next 70 years. That is the agreement that we have with you, we have with the stakeholders before we attempt to reclaim.
This agreement is not always respected. Save Our Lands projects shows what is possible, but given the scale of the problem, a lot more needs to be done. My conversation with miners and farmers convinces me of one thing. At this rate, the country's beloved cocoa pods will soon be gone. But that is not the worst of it. Illegal mining is literally killing Ghana, not just those alive, but future generations. In our recent 77% debate on this very topic, my colleague Edith Kimani asked young Ghanaians what they think about this problem. Here are some of the ideas that they came up with.
Indeed, and welcome to this absolutely special version of the 77% street debate. And if the analysts are to be believed, then in just 6 short years, then this country, which is so rich in biodiversity, could be importing water. And this is due to a phenomena called Galamsey, known here dialectically. Here we have Isifu. Thank you for joining us. And when we spoke earlier, you said something dramatic to me, that you have a river on your farm, but you're not able to use it.
Yes. Today, if you want to access water, you have to buy water from the city, transport it with tricycle, and even the cost and the poor road network to connect this tricycle for you to get water in your farm is very difficult. That's why we are now producing less. If you look at the output level as we speak now, we should have been in our peak level, but the cocoa is already gone. We don't have cocoa beans in the farm, and it is unfortunate.
Okay, so what happens to the existing cocoa market if it is threatened by infiltration of mercury into your plants?
If this harmful substance are detected in our cocoa beans, then we are doomed forever, because these cocoa beans are going to be rejected in the international market, and people will not like to use these beans for chocolate. In the next 5-10 years, cocoa farmers are going to be in danger.
As a farmer, you're obviously affected. Your livelihood is on the line, as we've spoken about. What do you think needs to change?
We can talk, we can sing, we can fight, we can kill ourselves, we can say whatever we want to say in the world, but we need the president to act. So the president should speak, he should act, and he should work.
The people who are watching, who are investors, who are interested in perhaps environmental management, what can they do? How can they tap into the solutions?
So I think that if you're an investor, you want to come in, you want to secure your investment, then the right thing is to go through the right process so that your investment will be secured.
How do we make sure that the generation who are having children right now, their children are not having a similar street debate 10, 20 years from now talking about galamsey?
When you destroy a forest, you have destroyed a pharmacy. When you look at the trees, look at the neem tree, or even look at the moringa, it's not just the seeds, it's not that the bark, it's not just the leaves. There's so much for everybody. So what we are doing right now, apart from poisoning the environment, poisoning our water bodies, we are destroying our pharmacies.
Thank you so much for your thoughts, and thank you to everyone. I'd like to invite Joy here because she's also a Ghanaian. And as we wrap up, I just want to know from you, what are your thoughts and opinions about this issue, being that you're living it? It's your reality.
Exactly. So I like the fact that everyone here, especially the youth, I'm very passionate about the youth and how they feel about this. I'm just happy that they have heard, they're ready to fight. And I'm just asking every youth out there, do not give up on Ghana yet. Also, we're heading to the polls. I'm asking that the first-time voters out there will participate in the elections, because you have a voice, and it will shock you that when you vote, you can effect change in the best way.
So we started with a statistic. I'd like to leave you with one, that the analysts are saying that at the moment, the amount of land that's been degraded in this country is equal to the Vatican City, Gibraltar and Monaco combined. That's how much land you've lost to environmental degradation. But as we've heard from everybody here today, it is possible to reverse that.
There are many things that can be done to save the environment, and you've just heard some of them. But a very big part of the responsibility falls on the government. So what is the plan? The plan for the financiers, the big players, those who sponsor the destruction of the environment.
One of the most egregious cases we have uncovered involves a Quantum Mining Company Limited. This is a warning to all large-scale mining concession holders hiding behind legal leases to fund the destruction of our forests and river bodies. We know some of your schemes, and we are coming after you. We will not stop until galamsey is completely uprooted. We will not stop until our waters run blue. We will not stop until our forests are turned green. Say it again. We will not stop this fight until our waters run blue. We will not stop until our forests are turned green. We will not stop until the soul of our country is healed. We will not stop until every financier, every enabler, the real architects of this destruction face the full rigors of the law. We will name, we will shame, we will prosecute them.
And how about the youth, the 77%ers, those who view this as their only source of employment? What is the government's plan for them?
To the youths who are continue to be lured into this activity, there's a better way. We stand ready to support you with better alternatives. But to those who persist in defiance, the state will act without mercy.
Well, I'm scratching my head because the minister's answer is assuring and confusing at the same time. What does he mean by those alternatives? You might be watching this show and thinking, well, I live in a community where illegal mining does not happen, so this isn't really my cup of tea. But guess what? Rivers tainted by heavy metals flow across national borders. And food that has been tainted by mercury could be exported to your community. So you are not really safe from the scourge of illegal mining. That's our show for this week. It's not a very happy show, but it's a very important discussion. And I want to leave you with a question that I started with. What is the true cost of those gold ornaments you cherish so much? I am Michael Oti. Thanks for watching.